I just put my kids to bed, so hopefully they stay in bed. But I want to tell you a little story, almost like a bedtime story, about something that illustrates how having an inventive mind is a good and positive thing. So there once was a clan that lived out by a lake, and this clan survived by grabbing fish with their hands. They'd go out into the lake and they'd grab onto the fish, and then they would bring the fish to shore and they'd eat the fish. And this clan was really good at that, and they'd been grabbing fish for hundreds of years. And one day there was a boy named Ada, and Ada went out there to catch fish, and he was really excited for when he got old enough to catch fish. And at first, it was really exhilarating going out there catching fish. And he did that for a couple of days, and after a while, catching fish the same way got really, really boring. And he wanted to find another way to catch fish, so he started thinking about it. And he just kind of got just bored, generally just bored of catching fish with his hand. And eventually, it became so awful for him that the thought of catching fish for the rest of his life seemed like torture. So Ada started doing a bad job of grabbing fish with his hands. And his dad would regularly, Ada, you get out there and catch fish. And Ada would kind of daydream, and he'd use his imagination and think about different things. And his dad was getting really upset with him. And everybody in the group, in the clan, kind of recognized that Ada was sort of slow and not very good. In fact, they were going to have him go and clean up I don't know, something else. So do some other job that was like less respectable than being a fish catcher. And Ada was out there one day, and he's looking at the fish, and he's daydreaming over the lake, and he sees all the bugs are kind of dancing on top of the water out in the middle of the lake. And Ada's dad told him that's where all the fish were, is out in the middle of the lake. And Ada, in his daydreaming, he had an idea. And he said, well, if all the bugs are out there in the middle of the lake, and that's where all the fish are, maybe the fish are going towards the bugs out there in the middle of the lake. I wonder if I were to catch bugs and throw them out in the shallow parts of the water, if I could draw the fish in where the shallow water is. So Ada went out the next day, and he was lifting up rocks and gathering bugs and insects. And his dad saw him. What are you doing grabbing bugs? This is a waste of time. What are you trying to catch butterflies for? This is ridiculous. You're wasting your time. You're a fish catcher. You're not a bug catcher. And but Ada, okay, so he came out and he was really bored. Anyway, he ended up getting some of his bugs together, and the very next morning, Ada went out early. He was really excited, kind of hyper-focused on this activity of catching bugs. He caught as many bugs as he could catch, and he went out to the lake early before everybody else had gotten there, and he threw his bugs up in the shallow parts of the water, and he sat there and he watched for a while. And one fish came up, and then another one came up, and another fish, and another fish. And after a while, there was a bunch of fish there, right there in the shallow part of the water. And all he had to do was reach down and grab them out of the shallow water and throw them ashore. It wasn't long before Ada had 5, 6, 7 fish laying in a pile over there on the shore. And just then, the rest of the people in the clan showed up to grab their fish. Looked over. Ada, how did you catch that huge pile of fish? And Ada showed him the bugs. Wow, amazing. He used his imagination, he thought outside the box, and he didn't replicate the same activity that everybody else in the clan had been doing for hundreds of years. He tried a different method. And with this new method, he happened to find success. He pushed the boundaries of what had previously been successful in his clan, and he moved technology forward by thinking outside of the box, thinking differently, by not replicating the same behavior. Because why? He was bored of the same behavior. His brain chemistry was not designed to replicate the same activity again and again and again. Instead, it was drawn towards discovery, creativity, invention, contribution capacity, interaction, these kinds of things that ADHD brains excel at. So my proposal with this story is that there's a function in ADHD minds. And this function is maybe, depending what your beliefs are, maybe it's evolution. Maybe evolution has somehow put this into, or it's somehow put it into. Evolutionary, this is a beneficial thing for the human species. Not to have everyone be and have an inventive mind. Because imagine if the entire clan had inventive minds, what would happen? Well, everyone in the clan would be out there trying different things, and at the end of the day, all these inventions, probably not all of them would work out very well. You wouldn't have very many fish, and people would starve. But having, a couple people, maybe 1 per 20, that's about 5%. That's the amount of people that have ADHD. 1 per 20 has a inventive mind, not drawn towards replication and mastery, but drawn towards invention, creativity, pushing the boundaries, finding out if something else works, having a mind that resists doing the same thing the same way over and over and over again. And by that, advancing the species, advancing technology, coming up with new ways of doing things. I think, if you have a more of a creation or intelligent design theory, that you could say maybe this was put in by a creator to help advance mankind, to be beneficial for mankind. Now, the hard thing is that because they resist doing things the same way as everybody else, and they're drawn towards pushing the boundaries, and they're drawn towards exploring the limits and where are the limits, it makes them difficult to raise. It also makes them very difficult to put them into the school system. The school system is designed for wonderful replicators, people that are very good at doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, the same way that everybody else is doing it, replicating the same behavior over and over and over and over again, and mastering that behavior. But that's not what ADHD minds are best at. You might compare this to a bird and a fish. And I use this analogy quite a bit. I think I use the analogy of fish quite a bit because I grew up as a fisherman. My dad's a commercial fisherman. So a fish is very good at swimming. It's terrible at flying. But fish can fly for short periods of time. They can leap out of the air. And birds are very good at flying, at least most birds, and they're terrible at swimming. But there are some fish who can go and swim. So us with our inventive minds, those who have ADHD, or those of you with children who have ADHD, I hope that you recognize that your child has something valuable and something special with their mind. Something that's, I think, designed, whether through, whatever your beliefs are, whether through creation or through evolution, to advance the species, to push the limits and the boundaries, and to explore and discover. And that's a good thing. That's an exciting thing. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out so well in the school system, but later in life, it's a great thing. In fact, writing this book, coming up with these ideas in this book, I've got lots of ideas. Ideas are coming to my mind all the time. And I think most ADHD people that I talk to are the same way. They're always thinking of doing things a little bit differently, coming up with alternate ways of doing things. Doing the same thing the same way over and over and over again is very hard for them. So cherish that ADHD brain. Recognize that having an inventive mind is a good thing. Having a replicative mind is not a bad thing. It's a good thing too. They're both good. They're just different. Birds and fish are both good. So hope this is helpful for you. Best of luck.